Good morning, students. Last week we started the second chapter of biology, control and coordination. We studied about the structure of neuron, reflex action and reflex arc. Now, many of you have been asking me questions from the first chapter and especially from photosynthesis and the digestion of food in human beings. So, we will take a break from the second chapter and today we will revise the topics from the first chapter, life processes, and in this video we discuss about nutrition. Now see, both plants and animals require energy for the activities that they carry out on a daily basis. For example, animals move from place to place. They require energy for different types of movements. They require energy for respiration, for the breakdown of food and so on. Likewise, plants also require energy for absorption of nutrients from soil, for the movement of substances, etc. etc. And how do these organisms fulfill their energy requirement? This energy comes from the food we consume, and therefore food is a vital substance as it provides the energy needed for growth, repair and for other life processes. So, all these come under the life process called nutrition. Alright, so nutrition is the process of taking in of food and converting it into energy and other vital nutrients required for life. What are these vital nutrients? Substances like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals, they are called nutrients. Carbohydrates and fats provide us energy. They help us in maintaining a constant body temperature. Likewise, proteins help us in growth. They help us to repair the worn out tissues. The minerals and vitamins help us to protect ourselves from different diseases. Okay, so all living organisms require nutrients for the proper functioning of their body organs and for growth. But they show divergence in how they fulfill this demand. Okay, plants and animals use two different methods of obtaining nutrition. And what are these two methods? The first method is called autotrophic mode of nutrition and the second is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Auto means self and trophic is energy. So autotrophic mode of nutrition is that mode of nutrition in which the organisms are able to synthesize their own food. And what will they use to synthesize their food? They will use very simple inorganic matter like water, like carbon dioxide. Okay. Examples of autotrophs are the green plants, algae and some prokaryotic bacteria. Okay. Now heterotrophic organisms are those organisms which depend on others. So all the animals depend on others for their food. And according to the organisms, there are three different modes of heterotrophic nutrition also: holozoic, saprophytic and parasitic. Holozoic mode of nutrition is found in human beings, in cow, buffalo. So what do these organisms do? They first ingest. They first take in food, then digest it and then assimilate it and then utilize it and then ingest out the undigested food. Okay. Saprophytic organisms like molds and mushrooms, they derive their food from the bodies of dead organisms, dead and decaying organisms. Parasitic mode of nutrition is that mode of nutrition where the organisms derive their food from the body of a living host and in return they give them a disease. Okay, we will study about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition in the next video. Today we focus entirely on the first mode of nutrition, autotrophic. Okay, so autotrophic mode of nutrition is that in which the organisms use simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water and synthesize their own food. Okay, and the process which they use is called photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is the process by which green plants use simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water to prepare food in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Photo word comes from sunlight. Okay. So where does it occur in a plant? The site of photosynthesis are the chloroplasts, the cell organelle chloroplasts found in the parenchyma of green leaves. Okay. The conditions in which photosynthesis will take place: presence of sunlight is mandatory, and so is the presence of chlorophyll, the green pigment present in chloroplast. Okay. What are the raw materials that the plants will use to make their food? Carbon dioxide and water. How will a plant obtain carbon dioxide and water? So let us study how the plant absorbs carbon dioxide. Now you have studied in the previous class that in the epidermal cells of leaves, tiny pores are present. These tiny pores on the surface of leaves are called stomata. Okay, so stomata are present mainly on the epidermals of the lower epidermis of leaves. Now this is a diagram of an opened stomata. You see that this opening is called the stomatal pore. So this is the opening which we talk about. Okay, these two, 1 and 2, bean shaped. This is a characteristic shape called bean shaped. 2 bean shaped guard cells are present in stomata. Stomatas, the guard cells have their own chloroplast and they also have their own nucleus. Okay, so these are the surrounding epidermal cells of leaves. Right? So how will the guard cells open and close? When water from the subsidiary cells enters the guard cell, they swell up. As a result, see, like this. Okay, when they absorb water, they swell up, it opens. When the water evaporates, again close. Opening and closing, opening and closing. Okay, so the entry of water makes them rigid and therefore the opening will be exposed. When water evaporates, the guard cells will again shrink and the stomatal pore will be closed. Now, when it is open, gases are exchanged, carbon dioxide will enter in. Stomata is also responsible for the evaporation of extra water in the form of water droplets through the process of transpiration. Okay. Now in desert plants, during the daytime, to prevent the excessive loss of water through transpiration, the stomatal pores are usually closed during the daytime to prevent excessive loss of water. Okay. So this is how the stomata open and close. Now plants also require water for photosynthesis, and water is obtained by plants from through their roots from the soil. So roots have tiny root hair which are directly in contact with the soil particles, and water is present in between the soil particles. So by the simple processes of diffusion and osmosis, water enters the root hair, from the root hair into the tracheids and vessels of the xylem, and then they are carried up to the leaves. Okay. Plants also require some macro and micronutrients for making special types of substances like proteins. Proteins have nitrogen in them. So how will plants obtain these micro and macronutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, magnesium and zinc? These are also obtained from soil. So plants obtain nitrogen in the form of nitrates and nitrites that are present in the soil particles. They will be absorbed in soluble form, dissolved in water. Okay. Likewise, phosphorus, iron, magnesium and zinc are also absorbed by plants from their roots. Now, steps in photosynthesis. You will come across, if you study different books, you will see that photosynthesis is a very complicated process. But for class 10th, please restrict yourselves to the NCERT book. Okay, many of you have been asking me about Kelvin cycle, about different steps of photosynthesis, light reactions and dark reactions. Please restrict yourselves only to the 3 basic steps that are given in the NCERT book. If you are to appear in other competitive examinations, of course, then there are no limits of the syllabus. But here, concentrate only on the 3 basic steps. Okay. So the first step is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the molecule which will absorb light energy of sun. Okay. As it absorbs light energy, it will be converted into chemical energy. After that, the third step, very important step, is the splitting of water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen. Right? So oxygen is released in air, and plants are playing a very significant role in the environment because they are releasing oxygen into air, and this oxygen comes from water. The oxygen present in water molecules is released into air, and so this can only be done by green plants. Okay, the hydrogen that is released from water enters the next step, that is the reduction of carbon dioxide to form carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, they are the substances that contain carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so carbon and oxygen are present in carbon dioxide. They require hydrogen which comes from water. Now, these are the 3 basic steps. The first 3 steps will take place in the presence of sunlight, and therefore they constitute the light reactions. Light reactions will not take place if sunlight is not there. They are completely dependent on the presence of light from the sun. Okay. Now, reduction of carbon dioxide does not involve sunlight, and so this will take place either whether sunlight is present or not doesn't matter. It is independent of the presence of sunlight. Okay. The equation for photosynthesis is 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives C6H12O6, 6O2 and 6H2O. Okay. Now, on the arrow we have written the reaction conditions: chlorophyll and sunlight. In the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight, this reaction will take place. Carbohydrates. Glucose is a carbohydrate. It contains carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay. Carbohydrates provide energy. So, the plants will use this energy for their metabolic activities, and the extra food will be stored in plants in the form of starch. So, leaves prepare food. Leaves and chloroplasts, they are called kitchens of a plant. So, from there the food will be transported to different storage organs. So, in potato plant, the food is transported under the soil and is stored in the underground stem. Right? Likewise, in carrot and radish, this food prepared in the leaves is stored in underground roots. In mango, food is stored in fruits, and therefore they are stored in the form of starch. Alright. Now, photosynthesis plays a very important role because it is the process because of which the plants prepare their own food, not only for themselves but also for all other organisms. And we say that sunlight is the ultimate source of energy for all living organisms on this planet. Okay.